Good afternoon, everybody. I think it's a very difficult job to go after Harish with the personal stories and the anecdotes that we just heard. I'm truly inspired. I come from a research organization, so I'm going to share a lot of data when I speak with you. So I hope that by the end of my presentation, we're able to marry the personal anecdotes, the stories that we just heard with evidence that actually works on the ground. So let's start. I think first just want to talk about the retail sector in India today. We're truly at an inflection point. The sector has been growing over the past decade. We're at 1.06 trillion market and we are expected to double by 2030. We already contribute 10% to the GDP, employing 8% of our workforce, and we're planning to create 25 million jobs by 2030. That's a huge mandate, and I think over the past decade, there has been such great transformation with new omni-channels coming in, quick commerce, and just so much happening in this space, right? And when I was thinking about my talk, I wanted to do a thought experiment with people around me. So this is what I did. I asked 5 people around me, what do they think of when they hear the word retail? And perhaps this group, because of the DEI advocates and champions that we have in the room, will give me different answers. But what I heard from people around me was either a bustling shopping mall with stores changing their fronts every week, changing their collections, or thinking about their e-commerce website, which can help them get access to their favorite products in a jiffy. Or some even talked about warehouses, right, where our products are stacked box on box. But I think out of those 5 people, only one person talked about the delivery worker who gets our stuff to us at home, right? And this is what we wanted to focus on today. Behind every shopping mall, every retail store that we go to, there is one person in that store who's answering 10 questions that we have about the product that we're going to buy, who's catering to the weekend rush. There is a delivery person who's helping us get our products at our place, beating traffic, heat, and even timing, right? Like 12-minute deliveries that we see today. And then there are warehouse workers who walk about 12 to 15 kilometers a day to really stack up these boxes in warehouses and ensure there is that quality that is maintained, right? And I think today the conversation has really been on DEI, and we all by this time recognize that it is important, right? It is a central driver for the industry. What I want to emphasize on, in addition to DEI, is worker well-being, because diversity ensures who is in the room, inclusivity ensures who is being heard in a certain room, but it is well-being that ensures who is going to thrive in that environment. And we all know that diverse teams are 35% more likely to outperform on innovation. Diverse leadership caters to more profit, and this is a real business case, right? And we know that people who feel belonged at the workplace feel happier and stay on for longer in their jobs. And I would want to acknowledge that the industry has made progress. I think the first panel that we had today and every talk after that as well really highlighted that, right? There are many programs that are focusing on returnship models. There are programs that are focusing on hiring more women workers, investing in skilling of women workers. There are anti-discrimination policies, and we heard some lovely stories just now on how that is going from policy to action to really transforming lives of people on the ground. And there's also youth hiring that's happening. But I think we all would also recognize that there is a long way to go, right? And this is one of the quotes that I really like as a systems thinker, that a system is never the sum of its parts, it's the product of their interaction. And that is where we come in as GBL. We focus on how different things, different programs that firms are investing in when it comes to worker well-being, different policies that HR is focusing on, DEI practices, all come together to build for long-term sustainable change. And our approach is very simple, right? We first talk to workers and management in factory floors to really understand what are the challenges that they face. And we don't want to go in with assumptions, even though we've done this work for the past 12 years now, where we've been doing all this research on the ground, we still recognize that every context is different. So we would go to your factory to really understand what are the challenges that workers, management, even top leadership recognizes. Then we would co-design interventions that would be low friction, that don't really cost a lot when it comes to the operation side of things, and try and understand the impact of those interventions on workers and businesses. So when I say on workers, we would like to talk about job satisfaction, their overall well-being, health, and other things, such as investments in children's education. And when I talk about business outcomes, we would look at things like productivity, absenteeism, attrition, to really understand if we are able to build a business case for a certain intervention, right? And once we know whether something works or not, we scale it up in the form of a product or a service that we then take to market, to the wider sector, so that it can benefit millions of workers, right? Until date, we have done this work across industries and geographies. We started in India 12 years ago in the textile sector. And since then, we have expanded in construction, platform economy, automotive, and now retail. And we also maintain offices in Latin America and in the US, where we've been working in similar industries to really build a business case for worker well-being. And I think today, I just wanted to talk to you about 4 lessons that we have learned over this journey. Of course, there are many more, but I thought for this group that is already so invested in DEI and worker well-being, these 4 might be more relevant. The first one really is that soft skills drive hard outcomes. I think in the morning also we heard a bunch of statistics around skilling of women workers, how these investments really go a long way in building that pipeline of workers. And this is something that we have seen firsthand, right? We know that over 50% of employees quit due to lack of managerial support. And soft skills training from our experience can really be that pathway to unlock better workplace environments for workers. I also recognize that there is some issue with the slides, but thank you for bearing with me for this. And we implemented a soft skills training program in garment factories, which benefited 3,200 supervisors, and the result was really startling for us, right? We saw that there was 15% improved supervisory effectiveness, 10% decrease in attrition, and 8% increase in productivity. I still remember when I was interviewing one of the workers who was at the receiving end of this training. She told me that her children now really find her to be more confident, and they seek help from her in her homework. And maybe right now when we talk about this anecdote, it does not seem as significant, but the smile on that woman's face is still something that I keep going back to whenever we're implementing or designing these training programs, because just the fact that her children were coming to her to ask for support on their homework because they saw that their mom was more confident, could help them with certain skills, that was such a great moment for her, right? We also recognize that inclusion unlocks untapped talent pools. Last year, we started working in the automotive sector in India, and unlike retail, where we're still farther along when it comes to women's participation, the automotive sector has 5.6% women's participation, right? And that is very low when we look at the 19 million workers who are part of that sector. And we really worked with 8 firms to understand what are the challenges that potential women workers face when they're entering the workforce. And in a survey that we did, 3 things really stood out. One was that transport access was the single most important factor influencing job acceptance, particularly for women from industrial clusters. And there were ideas around how pool transport could be one way to look at. Night shifts are such a big issue for women workers, especially in factories. So how do we build transport models that support women's participation? The second was, and this is something that some of the panelists also talked about, the presence of other women in the workplace significantly boosted job appeal for women workers, right? And it may seem a little tautological in the sense that women bring more women, but that is a fact. We also saw that when it comes to successful hires, especially for sectors where not a lot of women are already present, 37% of successful hires knew someone at work. And the social support and referrals really play a big role in bringing more women workers in. And finally, safety and ergonomic considerations are key, right? Think of an automotive factory where a worker has to stand for 8 hours. Especially for women, that can be challenging. So what we are looking at is, if we provide gel insoles to women workers, does that improve their overall well-being, and does that have any kind of a business impact in terms of productivity as well? Third, workplace conditions are productivity inputs. I come from Delhi, and there we are at the receiving end of extreme heat. During this season, it's extreme pollution. So we really wanted to study how frontline workers in factories in different contexts are being impacted by extreme heat and pollution that we face in India today. And when we did a sensor-linked study where we, put up sensors on the factory floor to understand temperature and pollution changes, what we saw was that for every 1 degree Celsius increase in workplace temperature, productivity reduces by nearly 4%. And when you look at the admin data of different factories, that is a massive business impact, right? And similarly for absenteeism and average working hours, there is significant impact during extreme heat days because workers would probably not feel up to it to come to factories because of very real considerations, right? When they have to travel 2 hours to get to a factory and it's 50 degrees Celsius outside, how do you really cover that bridge and go to work and be your most productive self? And that is where we have recognized that easy mitigation measures like cooling vests and even adopting certain practices that can help workers take offs on extreme heat days can really impact their productivity and overall business performance as well. And finally, I wanted to talk about the retail sector because we've worked extensively in other sectors and we're only getting started in retail. So these are early insights, but we're working with a large group which runs about 42 retail stores in India. And there what we're seeing is that attrition diagnostics is such a deep exercise that one needs to invest in, right? Because management might have a certain viewpoint on what are the key drivers of attrition. But at the same time, when you talk to different levels of workers, you get a lot of new insight. And we've been doing this attrition diagnostic study over the past few months to really understand why do women leave, why do workers leave, what are the career progression that they're aware of, what is it that they're not aware of. And we have identified certain solution pathways, right? One of the biggest things that we've learned about is that there are athletes in these stores who are at the entry level, but they're not sure how they're going to progress up to the managerial level, and career pathing is something that's really important for them. Similarly, employee recognition, flexible work week, employee onboarding, leadership training, and grievance management systems are other pathways that we're identifying. We are also in touch with certain retail companies, some of them in the room today, and we've validated some of these solutions, right? What you see on the screen around inclusive infrastructure, ergonomic solutions, returnship programs, career progression pathways, these are things that we're going to work on over the next few years and really build sustainable long-term solutions around these that can be implemented in the retail sector. And I think the final lesson that I want to leave you with is that change takes time and we recognize it. So even though we've talked about all the data, the business case for investing in worker well-being, we recognize that this is hard work that really needs the collaboration of many players in the ecosystem. And that is why we are working with RAI to really build this DEI roadmap over the next 1 year, and we're very grateful for this partnership as well. So would just love for you all to come together, collaborate with us, and build the roadmap for DEI and worker well-being in the retail sector. Thank you.